Now, let me get this right. Is it Mara? Myra.
Well, what's so funny about it? My name is Mara, and it rhymes with Laura, but I come from the East Coast, so I mispronounce my name.
Yeah.
I call myself Maura, and that's actually not my name, but that's how I say it. So thank you for asking, because the proper pronunciation of my name is Mara. Yep.
Mara.
Mm-hmm.
Just like it's spelled. Mara.
That's right. I don't know why people don't have a problem with Laura, but you switch the L and M and it just gets all confusing.
Well, the M is a fuller letter, I feel. It's, more of a mouthful than L. That's just me. Maura.
So all my friends call me Maura because I'm from Boston. So they call me Maura.
Well, is that what can I call you Mara like your name?
I don't notice. Like if you called me Maria, I'd be like, okay.
Just don't call you late for dinner, right?
That's what my dad used to say. Yes.
Mara.
Yes.
I like Mara. I like sounding like I'm from the East.
Yeah, Mara. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so why all the moves?
Well, the first move to Florida is I wanted to be an actress. And at that time, Orlando was really hot. They were opening up Universal Studios and Nickelodeon and stuff like that. So when I was there, I got into improv comedy and I was doing a lot of that. And then I moved to Washington State, and that's when I got into stand-up comedy. And I was doing stand-up in Seattle.
I love it. Stand up in Seattle. I lived in Portland, Oregon for many, many, many years, and my sister lives in the Seattle area. So I like that area. I don't want to live there anymore. I like the sunshine, but So what brought you to Las Vegas?
Well, when we were, I got married in Seattle and we moved back to the Boston area. And Mark's parents lived in Washington State. And in the 8 years we lived in Massachusetts, they came to visit us twice. So we made a list of places that we would move so that we could be together. And I kept trying East Coast, like I was trying North Carolina and all that. But Las Vegas was on both of our lists. So we moved to Las Vegas. And his parents did not.
Of course they didn't.
Yeah. So here we are, 15 years later.
Got it. So if you don't mind me asking, I've heard your story briefly at the Pate Nevada Pinkovet and Comprehensive Cancer Centers. But
yes.
I kind of want to talk about your journey, for lack of a better term. And how did you go about thinking, I'm going to need to get a mammogram? How did that pop up on your radar?
Actually, we found a lump. And because I was 37 and no history. Yeah, and I didn't have any breast cancer in my family. So when we found a lump, actually, it was rough because, first of all, I didn't know who to call. Do I call my not oncologist, or do I call my gynecologist? Do I call my primary care? I didn't know what to do. So I waited. And I remember I was wrapping presents. I was wrapping Christmas presents and talking to my best friend from high school. And I was like, hey, I got this lump. Who do I call? And she's like, "Bah!" And I'm like, nah. So I was kind of avoiding it. So I did go in, and it took me weeks to get into the oncologist. I mean, the gynecologist, my OBGYN. And then here's the problem, that everything takes so long. So it took so long to get in with him. And then it took so long for a mammogram, which led to a sonogram, which led to a biopsy. All that month. We're talking a month. It was too long. It was too long.
How long did you wait, though? I mean, on your end? Like before you called, like was that weeks or?
I think it was about like 10 days to 2 weeks.
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
And then it took you a while to get in.
Yes.
See, that is the difficult part about it for sure. And and you were so young with no history, so that's interesting. And by the time it's a lump, I mean, some time has passed anyway, right?
Yes, yes. So it must have been forming before that. What's interesting looking back on it is I had a really bad cold right around that time, like September, and I had that stupid cold for months. And I think it was too hard for my body to fight a cold and the developing cancer at the same time. So my immune system, and so I was making up reasons why I still had this cold because there were wildfires at that time. There was all sorts of things.
Where were
But
you
here in Las Vegas.
You were here in Vegas. Okay.
Yeah. So I had a friend who said that she had multiple, lumps from drinking too much caffeine, and they could be calciums and everything. So that's what I was hoping for. So I knew. So when I went in for the biopsy, it was I think it was like a guided biopsy. I can't remember what it was, but I said to this technician, because I know you're not supposed to talk to the technician. And I said to the technician, do you ever look at something and go, uh-oh, that's not good? And she said to me, yes, it has fingers. Then that's not good. That's absolutely cancerous. So the doctor comes in and she, does her thing. And then she goes, oh, it's a splayed mass. And the technician goes, oh, and I'm like,
oh no.
And the technician's like, oh, yeah. So I knew that.
Interesting. You know what? I didn't even know that. And then I didn't realize the term is splayed. Is that what it means with fingers?
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Interesting. All right. So here you are, 37.
Yes.
With kids.
Yes. At that time, my kids were 2, 5, and 8.
Okay. Handfuls. 3 kids.
Yeah.
2, 5, and 8.
Yeah, and he was still in diapers. The little one was still in diapers, so that was hard. That was really hard.
So I know this about you. Your outlook on life is wonderful. You like to have a good time. So does your husband. You both seem to be pretty happy, joyous people. Did it set you back at all?
My cancer journey, I like to say, is divided into 2 parts because right now we're talking about the first round. When I was diagnosed, I was stage 2B. It was in my lymph nodes, and my surgeon looked me in the eyes and said, "We can beat this." And that's all I heard.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, let's go. And I don't think I fully understood my diagnosis. And he was wonderful about explaining what triple negative meant, that what kind of breast cancer I had. But I wasn't getting the seriousness of it. And I didn't look up statistics, and I didn't look up any of that. So yeah, we had a head shaving party. My husband and my boy shaved their heads when they shaved mine. And we made a lot of celebrations. The kids made t-shirts for my chemo days. And we tried to still celebrate life because my biggest fear was missing time. Because I had a really weird concept of time back then anyway, that I didn't want this to be a time period to get through, just get through this, because then you're missing out on, 6 months of your life.
Right.
So we tried to live as much as we could while I was down for the count, basically.
Okay. And but that was your first round. And did it end the way you thought it would end?
Yes. Where like I had absolute complete response to my chemo.
Awesome.
So when they went in for my double mastectomy, they were just removing dead tissue. And it was, I got talked into a different kind of mastectomy that they were doing in Las Vegas at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was one of the first to have the nipple saving, skin saving mastectomy, which I was very excited and very, proud to do.
Mm-hmm.
But afterwards, see, once again, I didn't do my research. Okay, let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, wasn't the best. But then again, I don't think we are totally honest with women who get mastectomies that it's not going to be a beautiful plastic surgery job.
Yeah. And do you, and this is probably the absolute wrong question, and so please forgive me, because I know, right? But part of me is like, well, this is a dumb question to ask, but I'm just curious, the thought process is, do you, looking back on it now, would you recommend for somebody to do the research on stuff like that?
Yeah, I would recommend it, but on the same hand, I totally get that at this point in your life, your head is just spinning and you can't even decide what to make for dinner. Like there is, it's part of post-traumatic stress that I remember crying because I couldn't figure out which eyeliner I wanted to wear that day.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is ridiculous because I just couldn't make the simplest of decisions. And now we're supposed to make huge decisions. Yeah. And I actually looked into having my breast removed. There's a whole movement of, they call themselves flat tops. Uh-huh. And they are proud to have no breasts. And I was actually looking into having my breast removed, and my surgeon was out, and I got a substitute surgeon from Scotland. And she's told me that, I mean, Scotland has nothing to do with the story. I don't know why I mentioned that. Just so you can why not? But she said that nothing is permanent. Right. Nothing. And I said, so if I choose to remove my breast and 10 years from now, I want to add them back on, she says, we can't. And so I think that, do your research, but keep in mind, this is not necessarily what you have to have for the rest of your life.
Right. So let me ask you this. I don't know that there's a great answer to this question, but what could the people around you have done to help, if anything, at those times when the decisions were that crazy? Or what did they do? Like that really was just like, that helped you get to that next point?
As far as the decision making, I don't know. Yeah. Because I actually had a really sweet friend who was about 4 months ahead of me on her treatment. Oh. And she brought over a shopping bag full of pamphlets. And you know what I did with those? I put them in the back of the car, and I did not read them. Right. And I did have people coming up to me saying, here's a great doctor I know of. And while I didn't pursue that, the doctor I ended up getting was one that I heard the name a lot. Mm-hmm. And I guess my personality is different than most people's. Right. So what did help and the decision-making process?
I guess still making those decisions basically you're the one that has to make the decision, right? There's nobody who's going to make it for you.
Yes. And I know that my personality had to change when my cancer came back. Mm-hmm. I know that other people just naturally have this personality that they want to know everything about it. Like, I feel like in a way, not in a bad way, but I feel like I was kind of pushed into like the mastectomy. Only one other woman had it, and her nipples got necrosis and fell off.
Oh my
So
God.
I'm and I'm like, if I had to think about it, but I feel like I was just kind of like, here, Maura, try.
Do it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't like making decisions. I still don't. I'm not a big decision maker. I'm a very waffly kind of gal.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's what makes you you, and
Yes.
you've accomplished a lot. So I'm not going to complain about it. I think more power to you, really, is the thing. And that's a not necessarily a bad way to live life, but you were faced with some major decisions because the cancer did come back, did it not?
Yes. And that is when I had to start looking at what it was. Because it was just about a year after my treatment, I had a routine chest x-ray. And I didn't even know why I was having a chest x-ray. Like, I had no idea. Like, I didn't know. I thought I was done.
Yeah.
Now the statistics are 30% of cancers come back, which I think is low. Like, I look at it as 70% don't. And so I really didn't think it was going to. So I thought there was something wrong with the machine when they called me. Yeah. I'm like, okay, we'll do this again.
That multi-million-dollar machine needs to be calibrated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what's crazy is that they called me back because they found a shadow on my upper right lung quadrant. Now, further testing showed that that was just a shadow, but I had a mass on my left upper and right lower. So a shadow led to the actual diagnosis of it.
So here's what I do know, and this is where I picked up your story at Comprehensive Cancer Centers, was you heard about a different treatment. Is that how that happened? Did you just hear about it? Did you read about it? Were you doing your research?
There, once again, I got like kind of, here, Maura, there's something new happening in Vegas. Maura will do it, once again. But what had happened is I was in chemotherapy for 4 months when it was rough. It was really rough. I was on a platinum-based chemo cocktail, and I was on, and it was really, really grueling, and my quality of life wasn't what I wanted it to be.
Right.
And so I wanted to take a break from chemo, like totally, just take a breather, and see what happens. And my oncologist was not crazy about that idea. And so she said that Vegas had just gotten their CyberKnife machine. So before that, people used to have to travel to California.
Okay.
And so people were doing it for mostly prostate cancer, and I believe lung cancer, but they really weren't doing it on breast cancer. But why not? It's in my lungs. It's the same thing. So she pushed for it. And so I was scared because what I mentioned before is that I was used to treating my whole body.
Right.
So the traveling from the lungs, liver, bones, brain, that still scared me because we were only treating my lungs. And so that was my hesitancy about it. That was the only thing that, and there wasn't a lot of data on it at that point, especially for breast cancer. There wasn't any.
So what did they say that tipped you over the edge and you're like, I'm going to do it?
It would get me out of chemo.
Yeah, which was,
I was like, okay.
And how long ago did you have it done?
I should know this. August 2011. So in August, it will be 10 years. So that is 9. Oh, well, the first time was March of 2010. So exactly 10 years ago.
Right.
And then because we did it on one of the lobes. And then the other lobe became active again. And so we did it the following August of 2011. And that was the last time I had any evidence of disease in my body. August 2011. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, so, that is awesome.
It's big. So that will be 10 years coming up in August.
And you do keep up on it though, right?
Yeah. Now this is where my journey gets really interesting, because I would love to tell you that this bolt of light came down and I was cured, or if the last time I had CyberKnife, they said, "Goodbye, Maura, we will never see you again, because you're healed." But that's not what happened. After that, I had to go back every 6 weeks. And then they stretched it out to every 3 months. Mm-hmm. And we stretched it out to 6 months. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm going to stay for the rest of my life. Because I said, can we stretch it out to a year? And they were like, no, we're not comfortable with that. Okay. So I'm still considered stage 4. And that's why it gets tricky that the oncologists are very hesitant to say what I am. They said stage 4, no evidence of disease. Okay. But there's thinking, the further out I go, the better it is.
Yeah. So here we are 10 years down the road, let's just say. What have you been doing for the last 10 years? Like, what are you filling your time with now?
One of the things that when I asked my oncologist, what are we doing? And do I have cancer? Do I not have cancer? Mm-hmm. And this is like pretty much 10 years ago, I said this. She said to me, we are getting your body as strong as we can for the next round. So that's what we're doing. So that's what I've been doing for 10 years. I've been trying to do what's right for my body. Mm-hmm. Now I'm 52.
Wow, you look amazing, as always.
Thank you. My birthday was yesterday.
Oh my gosh, happy birthday. Oh,
thank you. Yeah, I had balloons over there. So, I was like,
I love
it. So I went back to the Taekwondo studio. Okay. And I was working on my 4th degree black belt because, truth be told, 2 years ago, I tested for my 4th degree black belt and I failed. And then last year I tried again. So I trained for a whole nother year. And last March, I found out I failed again, which was, March was just awful for everyone.
There we go.
Really. So even though I haven't been back in the studio since COVID, I go back like every now and then, but it's just, I'm still trying to decide if that's something that I want to pursue. But in the meantime, I got a Peloton, so I ride Peloton. And and the reason I mentioned I'm 52 is because I'm trying to figure out how a 52-year-old can eat, so it's not meant necessarily for the cancer. It's the fact that I'm 52 years old. And, and so I'm trying to eat well in that aspect. So I'm trying to be healthy. Mm-hmm. But I am passionate about the awareness. I know that people say that the pink ribbon, enough already, we're aware, but I really feel like there's so much more to be aware of between the racial discrepancies and the mortality rates and the lack of access to care in the rural communities. Yes. So along with I try to advocate when I can and help out people along their journey. Mm-hmm. But during COVID time, I was not happy about staying home. So the only thing I could technically do, I went and volunteered at a food pantry here in Las Vegas. And I just love the people and I love going. Yeah. And I do that. So that's what I've been doing. And whenever I can help out Coleman.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, Maura, because I have two questions for you. Now, one of them has just escaped my mind, and that's because I am going to be 55. So I get where you're coming from, but I'm like, oh my God, it was like you said something and I wanted to nail you down on, oh no, I know what it is, for the love. Okay, two things. And if you don't mind, this is a serious question, so I don't want you to misunderstand why I'm asking this, but how do you fail a Taekwondo test? And I mean that not in a negative way, but I'm just like, well, I mean, is it you're not doing the action correctly, or is it a stamina thing, or what is that?
The last time I failed because I did not break my boards on the first attempt.
Oh, okay.
I have 3 board breaks, and it took me 2 attempts to break 2.
Okay, well, that's in my book amazing. Anyway, I'm like, I couldn't break them on the 15th attempt, my friend. So I get it. I mean, just in terms of the actual belt, you may have not passed that test, but oh my gosh, that's amazing. So I give you 2 thumbs up for sure. And even just trying, that's awesome. And it's fun to have a goal too, right? Like, it's fun to work towards something. I get it. I do that too. So my last quick question, is that an animal that's running around back there?
I thought he just gagged on the rug. I was like, oh no.
Oh.
No, he just gagged. He's good.
Okay.
He's a greyhound. So when a greyhound yaks, it's like a toddler.
I get it. So that is the other thing I was going to say to you. I want you to think about doing something for Susan G. Komen. And here's what it is. Last year we did an event called Comedy for the Cure. And I don't know why we didn't have you in it, but I'm wondering if you still do stand-up, and if you do, then can we round you into Comedy for the Cure?
I do not do stand-up anymore.
I mean, is it just not interest you anymore?
No, I don't know how to not make Mark sound awful about this, but Mark hated me doing it. I mean, really, he hated the clubs, he hated the scene, he hated everything about it.
I don't blame him. That's got to be tough. That's got to be a tough life.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we may have to get you on the committee, and you'll find us some good comedians. Maybe that'll
definitely
help.
And if you need an MC, I could MC it.
I know, and that's what I love about you, because you did our parade last year, which we're going to do again this year, but we're going to actually have more time to plan instead of throwing it together like 3 days before. Yeah. You know what? It's funny what this pandemic has forced us into. In a good way, not in a bad. I don't want a pandemic, right? I don't want people getting sick. I definitely don't want people dying from it. Absolutely not. But the innovation that it has caused us to have to generate has been pretty eye-opening, I would say. So, awesome.
Yeah, the rethink.
Yep, absolutely. And then, I'm learning how to spend time at home, which I never was good at before, because I always thought I had to be out, right? Like I have to be out there moving and shaking and being seen and all those things. And I'm like, no, I can stay home with the cats. One's right here, as a matter of fact. The other one left already. Yes, this is.
They have a condo behind you.
See, that's it. As pet people.
And so, in Bible study, we always talk about living your life step by step with no big plans and no big push. And that's how I was living, for 10 years. So there was at one point I wanted to go back to work and do nails because I was a manicurist. And I'm fortunate that I don't have to work. I don't have to. And I had 3 kids and everything. And my oncologist said, if you have a limited time, is that what you want to do? And I talked about going back to school because I never finished my degree. So I would get my degree just for knowledge and not for a job. And my oncologist said, is that what you want to do with your time? And I'm like, no. So like everything I do, I'm like, is this what I want to do with my time? And so it really has been step by step. And I go to a lot of Bible studies because I have to. I need to stay focused. I battle fear a lot.
Yeah.
The fear of the unknown, the fear of what I have versus what's happening is very odd.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to stay focused. Got to stay focused.
Yeah. You know what, though? That is a great question to ask yourself. Is this what I want to do with my time? Because we all have limited amount of time. I mean, all of us, technically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great question to ask yourself, even on a daily basis.
But you know what the answer to that question is lots of times. It's so funny having 3 teenagers now.
Well, that's
no, like on one hand, yeah, I want to drive my kids to hockey practice, but on the other hand, that's an interesting that, yeah, I want to be there for my kids.
See, and that's the right answer to that question, right? Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily, you're right. You wouldn't want to drive them to hockey practice at 6 o'clock in the morning every day, maybe. But do you want to be there for your kids? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love it. So yeah, and this isn't it nice? You still get to have people in your life. Well, see, Maura, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, and I thought it was a great idea, is you're an interesting person.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you have a life. You do things. Like you did the fashion show. I love that you're ballsy. I mean, I love that about women in general, but I love that about you. And yet you've had this thing in your life that is a little distracting, can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And yet here you look at you. You're doing great things with your own life. It's what you want to do. You're doing things that make you happy and that bring you some sort of joy, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a very rich life. I have a very rich life, and
it's possible. It might take a minute, right? And it's okay. And this is what I tell even those of us that aren't going through a major life change like metastatic breast cancer. It's okay to take a moment and go, God, having a bad day. I'm having a bad day, and I'm going to sit on the couch and eat ice cream.
Do you know, whenever I meet somebody who asks me advice about their loved one going through cancer treatment, because I actually get that more than I have actually, somebody with cancer. But the very first thing I say to them is let them have a moment. Let them have a bad day, because there's so much pressure. And loved ones are so afraid that if they let you go down a path of negativity, that you're not going to get better, that you're just going to get wither away and die. And I was like, well, first of all, I don't think it really works like that. Yeah. And you know what? It's too much pressure to keep on a brave face for your loved ones. So if you can help somebody with their bad day, and letting them, so, I mean, to show up with ice cream and sit on a couch with them, that's awesome, because to put on a happy face all the time is not feasible and not practical.
Yeah, it's not real even. I mean, even the happiest of people with no problems whatsoever, we have bad days. So I
realized I did a disservice when at first, before we had blogs, I had a caring bridge for my first, and I wrote about it. And of course I wanted to sound positive. And then one of my friends went through some problem with his kidneys. I don't know if he had stents put in or something like this. And he actually was beating himself up and said, I can't be strong like Maura. I can't be positive. And I was like, oh my gosh, you missed my bad days because I didn't write about them. And then I realized what a disservice I'm doing to anyone. I'm only showing the positive sides. And I'm like, so now I overdo it. If I'm having a bad day, I'm like posting a jar of Nutella on a spoon. It's always like, Mom, I get it. You're having a bad day. You posted it on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And I'm like, keeping it real. It's hard. It's like, if we have to summarize my last 10 years, that was a long time. And there were big chunks of time that were pretty dark.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of hard to describe those bad. There was one summer where I lost 6 friends to metastatic breast cancer. It was a lot, and that's the problem when you make friends with people with a fatal disease. That's what happens.
Yeah.
And it was hard to pull out of that. But one time I went to visit a friend because her brother had just died unexpectedly, like an aneurysm. And somebody said, Maura, say something, you know, and I'm like, I don't know, because I'm going through a hard time. So all of a sudden I'm the expert on hard times. And I said to her, it's okay to be broken. There's a time in your life when you're completely flattened, you're completely broken. The trust comes that you will not always feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, tell your kids, mommy's having a sad day, because kids get that. They're like, oh, okay, I get that. And go ahead and do that. And then trust that someday you're going to be healed and you're going to be back on your feet. And allow that. Because I think that's what we get so scared that we'll never be back on our feet again. We'll be so broken.
Wow. That is actually a great message, and probably a great place for us to end in terms. I feel it's actually an up note, even though it may not sound like it at this second. It's okay, because you're right. It's gonna change, because I've been there, right? I've been, what I always tell people is the lowest of the lows, the bottom of that barrel. And now I actually called my sister the other day and I said, I know this is weird, but we're in the middle of a pandemic. I'm working out of my house. I'm not sure where this is going to end up. And I'm actually happy because I feel okay. Like, I have my family around me. I have a head, a brain. It's going to be okay. So even though I see that it's going to be okay, and I was actually happy about it. So, and that's what we have to remember. We're a community. I like to think, I always tell people, like, in my philosophy, we're all related. We all come from the same exact place. So we, as a universal human race, we're related. You're family to me. And I care about what happens to my family. So there are people out there that will take care of you in some way. Like, they'll make you laugh, or they'll give you emotional support, or they'll teach you Taekwondo and how to break the wood, right? I mean, it's like, that's part of the family. So I love it.
That was another thrill of the last 10 years, is that I got to go to Africa and work in an orphanage, and I got to teach the women there self-defense.
Oh,
and
now that's pretty amazing, young lady. That's amazing.
Incredible experience.
Yeah, surprised you forgot to tell us that. Tell this exact moment. Oh, by the way, that's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. It's really interesting. Do you feel, okay, I'm going to ask you one more question. I lied about this. Do you feel then that, and I don't know, because I don't even know what CyberKnife is. I just know you have said the name multiple times. That's the only reason why I know about something called CyberKnife. Do you believe that was what made the difference for you?
Yes, and if you want, I can explain CyberKnife really quickly. It is a beam of radiation that they put marks on me, like little tattoos, and they would actually shoot it from all different angles. I want to say there was like 87 different angles of this teeny tiny beam of radiation. So it was incredibly precise, and so they didn't get a lot of unnecessary areas. So they were targeting a very, very small tumor. There actually is a word for someone who's had complete response to radiation. I've never heard it before. It is a big, long name. And somebody who reached out to me from like St. Louis, because people will find me on the internet. And she actually like wanted to do what I did. And so she studied it and she found a word that means complete, unexpected response to radiation. And so that's what did it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm actually categorized in the medical community as an exceptional responder. And they're very clear about that because they didn't expect the cyber-knife to work like that. They thought that it would take care of that area and then it would pop up somewhere else and we'd be chasing it. So the technical term they use is exceptional responder. And, the word we use is miracle.
Yeah. So. Amen. Which I'm thankful for, because I'm just honestly thankful, for a lack of a better way to put it, to know you. And I just, every time I talk to you, even if it's eating barbecue at a bar, not only do I learn something new, but I just learn about being a better person, which I love being in my life, let me tell you. So I appreciate you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, I do. I totally appreciate you. And I'm just so excited about the next chapter for the two of us.
Yes, me too. Me too.
We're going to get you involved. I love having you as our MC for a lot of things. So just put in the back of your head that we are going to do the parade again. I'm going to do it a little bigger and a little better this year. First time, right? For growing pains, as we say, but I'm excited about that. So, and your MC partner, she was awesome too. What was her name?
My God. Joy.
Freaking love her. She was awesome. Yeah, agreed. So we're going to get the two of you back to do it. Thank you so much for joining us today. I do appreciate it. I know it's a little scattered, but this is how I learn, right? Just tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more.
Let's talk about cats. Okay, let's talk about my diet. Okay.
That's me. Welcome to, that's how it again. But that's the whole thing about it, right? We're just well-rounded people. That's how I look at it. Right? A lot going on in our lives.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Sherry.